Good morning, beautiful people, brothers, sisters, family, friends, strangers, strange ones. Good morning. Namaste. And I got a gem for you today. Gosh, this is a Shaq dunk. This is a Joker 3, a Clark jumper, Potier performance, an Obama call out. All of them. This is up there. So so this is what happened. This morning I wake up, right? And I do my morning constitution and hygiene stuff. And I'm feeling, I'm feeling not 100. So kind of like one of those dull, low energy type days, right? And one of those days that we all kind of have. And so I start doing my routine and work my way out of my funk, if you will. I do my breathing, and I do my sound, my frequency stuff, and I then do my general sort of mindfulness stuff. Okay, so I'm still kind of like not all the way there, not all the way 100, if you will. It's like, it's like one of those days, let's say, December 28th, 3 days after Christmas, where, you wake up and all you can realize, or all you do realize, is that, your next Christmas is, I don't know, 300 and some odd, days away. And so you're like, in that little funk, or, one of those days where, you kind of regret that divorce. You know what I mean? We all have them, we all have them. So one of those type days. So I start thinking, and so when I'm in one of those type of days, I go to my go-tos, right? My go-tos. We all should have some go-tos to get us out of funk. So my go-tos are, first I focus on people I love. Fortunately, I have what? I have four granddaughters and two daughters, and so it's kind of an easy place for me to go, but not always, first up, but and then I don't think about um uh I think about what goods we need. What can I do to service our community? And those always kind of like uplifted me and get me out of a funk. But today, as I was, trying to work my way out of my funk, um, my dad came to mind. He had been simmering, a little bit over the last couple of weeks or so. I'd say he's, my late dad, and so he came to mind, and I got the love thing going there, and so I started thinking about my dad more, and so his lessons of life came to my mind. His lessons to me in my life from him came to mind. And I think there are lessons that everyone should know. They're for everyone, and they're truly, truly, you know, um, good lessons to carry forward that we can always have. So today I'd like to share them with you. There are five, but before I go into the lessons, it's best that I give you a little context or background or to my dad and who he was. He was he was had a hardship sort of youth. His mom died at 3, and so he was kind of raised in unstable family situations in Mississippi. Later in life, his family moved to Mississippi, and he became a he became a superstar. He became a Chicago high school basketball phenom. Led the city and broke many scoring records and held them for many, many years. He was, he was that dude. He was that guy. Back in back in the 50s, yeah. So, he's the dude in Chicago. They call him Hoagie Brown. He was all they could do was really score. He's a great scorer, you know. So he gets several basketball scholarships. He really wants to go to a major school, but the Big Ten wasn't really taking black players at the time, and so he ended up going to Kentucky State. So he goes to Kentucky State, and he's there for 4 months, and he gets a call while he's there. Gets a call from my grandmother, Juanita. And Juanita tells him he's got to come home. And why does he have to come home? Because guess what? I'm on my way. So he's got to come home. Got to give up his basketball stardom, basketball future, come home, get married, and raise a family. Well, he does it. And here's a picture of their. Gosh, how fabulous is this wedding picture? By the way, you can see me there, a little covered up, but I'm there, right smack in the middle. I'm there. Yeah, a little covered up, like I said. Look close, you'll see me. So, he starts a family. He's freaking 19 years old at the time. Yeah, he's 19 when he gets married. And my grandmother, who's very well politically connected at the time in Chicago, gets him a job as a bus driver, and he's raising his family, working hard, um, but the issue's kind of there, issue's kind of there. What he could have been, if you will, you know, weren't for me. That's why I think that had something to do with some brokenness in our relationship through the years, but he did his best still. So he goes on in life, and later on he tries to become a white collar guy, and it kind of ends up disastrously, and a lot of hurt and pain. I actually saw the that whole experience and the racism that he confronted. I actually saw it kind of you know take his spirit. I saw it. It was visceral for me. Yeah. Anyway, so as the years went on, came and went, he became more of a, I guess you have to say, a street guy, street wise and everything. Not a wise guy in the Italian sense, close to. One day I'll have to tell a story about Italian wise guys and black wise guys. Not a whole lot of difference, but some significant difference. I know, Richie. I'll have to call Bruno and get his approval. I'll do that. I'll take care of that. Anyway, back to the story. So, but through the years, he was a good dad. He tried his best. He did his best, I think. And most importantly, he taught me, I think, these five lessons, these five gems, and I'm going to share them with you now. I'll try to keep them in the order in which I think I received them, but my best effort there. First up was I was about 12 years old, and my older cousin, about 3 or 4 years older than me, we were playing a game called Tunk in Chicago, big time card game. And I was a pro. I was a pro at freaking 12 years old. Learned from my dad, and I could beat all the guys, all his friends and everything. Much older, and I was that good. So my cousin comes over again. He's 3 or 4 years older. I take all his money, but he won't pay me the money that he owes me. It's about $15, as I best recall. And so I couldn't fight him. He's much bigger than me, and so I go in and I tell my dad, and my dad tells me one of the first lessons of life. You know, he says, "Listen, son," he says, you know, if a man wants to sell his soul for $15 for a very small modicum sum, let him do it, because every time from that day forward that you interact with them, they know that they owe you. They know it. And you'll always have the upper hand. So, if they want to come that cheap, let them come that cheap. So, it's like, thanks, Dad, and it served me well. They calmed me, and I knew I had something to treasure and carry forward with me for the rest of my life. So I was very happy. I felt richer, actually. It was a very, very good lesson. So, so I think the second lesson was, yeah. So he and my mom, I think, were having, some sort of argument and everything. And I probably was kind of like taking my mom's side. And he says to me, he says, "Son," he says, you know, no matter how thin, no matter how thin they make the pancake, there's always two sides." Wow. That's rich. That's rich. Now, later in life, I did revise that too, being a smart ass than I am, to there's actually three sides. There's a top, bottom, Then there's the edge. So there's three signs. So that was lesson number two. Lesson number three, and I think this was during the time that he was really having trouble in life, work wise. Um, Bus driving was let go many years ago, and like I said, he had become somewhat of a street guy, if you will, poker player. That was his thing. He was a hired gun for poker. He was really good. I saw him play. He played for many hours. That was his thing. So so I think this was during that time he was trying to, keep himself in the game, if you will. And one of his motivational thoughts was, it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. That too proved to me, I think, to be invaluable. I always was able to call upon that, carry that forward, and stay in the game. Ugh, stay with it. Keep going. Keep working hard. Keep knowing, claiming victory, and whatever I was doing, I knew it was up to me to dig down and fight harder. And so that was another invaluable lesson. So that was number three. Lesson number four was definitely during the time that he and my mom were more and more becoming, estranged, and, you know, their marriage wasn't really working. And, number four was, yeah, and he was really, having a really bad time. And so he says to me, and he and I had pretty much become, our relationship was broken, because I was definitely on my mom's side and all that sort of thing, oldest son, if you will. And so he comes and he says to me, never judge a man by how he falls down, but by how he gets up. And yeah, I looked at him kind of, I'm sure, like in a smart ass sort of way, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Yeah, it's manipulation. Yeah. But anyway, but he's right. He was right. But I did later revise it to, for me, in my life experience, to you don't have a right to judge anything, whether how they fall or how they get up. Don't judge. What the best thing that I think, my revision, my dad's wisdoms, is the best thing you can do for someone is to hold them accountable for what they believe in, whatever that is. They believe in something, hold them accountable to that belief. The best friend you can be to someone, I think. So that was number four. Yeah, number five. Ah, hopefully everyone stayed around for number five because five's freaking big. Uh, so we try to mend our relationship. We go to a local bar on 87. I forget the name of it. 87th and Kimbark in Chicago. Anyone who knows Chicago knows the little blues bar I'm talking about. Gosh, I forget the name of it. But wonderful place. Had some great guys there. Great bands there. Great soloists and even bands. Really small joint though. Really small, but it was a good place. We go there and we could walk there from my house. So we walk there, and we sit down and we order a drink. I'm 21 at the time, and I'm just graduated from college. And so we're sitting there and we're having a drink, and um, I say to my dad, kind of early off, um, "Hey, Dad, I think I found the woman I'm going to marry." And he says to me, he says, "Well, why do you think you're going to marry her? Why her?" And I said, Dad, she's the best woman. And I'm willing to go 50-50 with her on all things. 50-50, right down the middle. Great partnership. My dad looks at me and he says, "You're a fool." Now, here I am, graduating from college. He spent 4 months at college. And I'm probably like, who do you think you're talking to, dude? I got the upper hand here. I got more. philosophy and wisdom. I went to freaking college. So he says, son, says, son, he says, son, love, marriage, it ain't a 50-50 thing. It's 100-0. And for the first time, my dad speaks a foreign language to me, right? I never knew he spoke a foreign language. He says, there's no quid pro quo. There's no quid pro quo. I probably had to look up what a quid pro quo was, I would imagine at that time. But he says it. So, we ended the night, and probably the best we did was shake hands at the time and, agree to try to keep mending our relationship. It was really pretty broken at the time. And so I go on in life, I end up not marrying the girl, woman, Sharon, George, Charles, it was Sharon. And I go on and go on in my profession and all. But all my life, and through my marriage and everything, I'm kind of like wrestling with that. And through my experience in marriage, I know it's, 50-50. That ain't going to work. And I think it was about the time that my first daughter was born, Amanda, that I more and more understand that love is 100-0. And so I commit myself as best I can at the time to 100-0. And like with most things in life, for me at least, I fight hard at everything. So I gave it my best shot. But, as I modified all my lessons from my dad, I do discover that, well, it ain't 100-0. It ain't 100-0. It's closer to 100-0 than 50-50, certainly, no doubt about it. But it's not 100. It's somewhere around. I'm now at 85-15. Yeah, I'll do 85-15. And what's that 15? 15 is there's gotta be respect. Love, or someone loving you the way that you love them, not a good, not a good barometer, you know, tough calculus. But I think respect is clearly understood and known whether or not a person respects you or not. I mean, even the guy who said he loved everyone, if you will, let's take the Jesus model. I mean, he did throw the people out of the temple with great anger and great, and great, yeah, great anger. He was fighting, that sort of thing. And I think it was all because, the people in the temple they didn't freaking respect his they didn't freaking respect the temple. They didn't respect his father. They didn't respect his core beliefs, And so I think that's why he was willing to go to the mat with it. And so those are the five lessons of life that my dad taught me. The keys of life, the gems that I think served me well. And I think everyone should try their best um, to manifest, to live out, um, uh, to make truths in their lives. I think they're that valuable. So, to my dad, I never gave you his name, did I? His name was Henderson. He didn't have a middle name. First guy, first guy I ever met or that didn't have a middle name, you know. And yeah, yeah, Papa was a Rolling Stone. Hmm. I remember when that song came out, I was like, I started really to think and understand my dad a bit more. But yeah, Henderson Brown, those are his truths. Those are his wisdoms. They're for everyone. Um, Dad, love you. I know you gave it your best, and I'll try my best to carry forward your. I'll certainly try my best to carry forward your consciousness, your being. Thank you. Love you, Dad. Namaste to all, and to all a good night. And remember, as I always say, everything I say is not for everyone, or everything I say is not for everyone, but everything I say is for someone. Thank you. Have a good evening. Happy Thanksgiving. So, oops, after reviewing the first part there, I realized that I only had four of my dad's wisdoms and not five. So that's one of the risks of doing this stream of consciousness thing, but I must say I do enjoy it. I've had some great moments with stream of consciousness. So number five, or actually it's probably number three to tell you the truth. And I remember it well because it's a really, really great story. Um, it happened. It was it was the Ollie Frazier fight, number one. I was 14 years old and I was a sophomore in high school. And so my dad just had a sense about this whole thing because this was like the first time they were using closed circuit for these big fights, right? And so my dad got tickets to see the fight at this theater or the facility arena, whatever, called the Coliseum in Chicago. It had actually been closed for many years, but they were trying to, take advantage of this opportunity because it was a large auditorium to show this fight on closed circuit. I'm sure many of you don't remember what closed circuit was like at that time, but this is how they did it. They did large um, telecasts in large facilities, arenas. So we get there, and the crowd's like, this was a big time fight. This was the first, like, really, really, I think, big fight, in modern freaking history. You know, I don't know another fight that really, to this day, I really don't know another fight that compares to the promotion of the first Ollie Frazier fight. So we're at the theater, and crowds like, rocked and, ready to go and everything. And, it's getting late. There's nothing on the screens, nothing showing. And we hear that the fight is happening. We're not getting anything. People go mad, they go crazy. And they start tearing up the arena and, you know, the stage that it was on. They're knocking down all of the stage mics and recording equipment, and just, it's chaos. It's chaos, you know. There are fights and everything. So my dad looks at me and he tells me to start picking up the stubs that people were throwing away. Yeah. I just follow my dad's directions, because I know my dad's got something up his sleeve. He doesn't say he never did said anything without any sort of reason or justification behind it. He's got something up his sleeve. So I'm running around unbothered by anyone, picking up stubs. They're all over the place. So the next day, or the next couple of days, we turn in the stubs. We get refunds. We made so much money. I made so much money at my dad's, direction. So, so at some point in this experience, he tells me this story. Again, I think it's probably number three. And it's like he says, son. He says, son. He always began his wisdoms with son. That's when I always knew that, that's when he was taking a special moment of focus and understanding and teaching. And he said, son, you know, the only way in life you get conned or cheated is if you're looking to con or cheat. Yeah. And I think that's true. I later on, remembered that, or always kept that to heart in my profession. And it was an operating sort of, operating principle of mine. Um, um, Not to con, not to cheat. And I think it served me well. So that was number five. That completes the list. And I hope you enjoy. Remember that, I need you to subscribe, So how about this? If none of the wisdoms appeal to you, then I want you to hit the unsubscribe button. Okay? Just hit it now. Unsubscribe. If none of them appeal, not one, not two, not three, four, or five appeal to you, and I don't know how five doesn't give you some moment of reflection, but if none appeal to you, then unsubscribe, and I'll, 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 I'll be okay, and I won't hold anything against you. I won't hold anything against you anyway, but we'll be cool. But the only thing with that is that you first have to subscribe. Okay, so again, namaste. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing. And remember the voice. You'll know me by